Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? It's Proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome back, fantasy football fans. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with Jay Dash and Big Easy. We broke up our fantasy football segment this week. We did our waiver claims separately, so go check that out after this segment. This one, we got our situational starters, sleepers, and deep sleepers. I got to tell you, Dash, I've been hitting on my sleepers lately, man.
Been doing it big. You didn't hit on Heath Miller as your situational starter last week.
No,
so
you can't win them all, but...
No, it's tough.
Well, what do we got for him this week?
Well, we're going to start off with situational starters, and we always start with you. So what are you doing?
Yeah, why are we always going to put me on blast, man? I don't
you
understand.
said you're so great at this, so let's hear it.
Jesus, that's pressure. I'm going to go with Travis Benjamin going up against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has allowed the 6th most fantasy points to wide receivers this year. Benjamin's blown up big a couple times. He actually started the season with 6 straight double-digit fantasy performances. Fell off a little bit, especially last week with Johnny Manziel. Josh McCown's supposed to be back this week. I love Pittsburgh. They're going to destroy him. Well, Pettit said they're planning for, or however you say their coach's name. I don't even know if I'm right. But he said they're planning for McCown. All systems go as long as he's healthy enough. So we'll hope that's going as long as Pittsburgh still wins the game. Because we got Landry Jones and Jordan Todman in this biatch.
Yeah, let's not forget, they're not going to be able to run against the Steelers either, I don't think, with Isaiah Crowell. I mean, Duke Johnson, he's a good player, but he's more used in the passing game as well. I think they're going to have to be passing a lot, and Travis Benjamin is going to have a bounce back this week. What about you, Easy? Anyone on your list?
Yeah, well, I see a couple of your guys here, Shane Vereen and Ruben Randall. They're the Giants, correct?
Yes.
Versus home against New England?
Home against New England.
It seems like they've been New England's nemesis. But I think that...
I said that earlier, and Dash got all mad at me.
Well, they were undefeated. They won the Super Bowl. That right there is warning.
No, he said something about Patriots aren't good at New York or something, and I just pointed out they play at New York once every 8 years. So, I mean, it's hard to say.
Stats.
They're not good there. They weren't good there that one time.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that the Giants would have a better Giants are going to have an easier time throwing the ball than they are running the ball. So I'm going to go with Ruben Randall.
Well, I think New England's going to blow up the Giants' defense. The Giants' defense hasn't looked good over the past several weeks. And, I mean, New England's been dominating all season on the offensive side. But, I mean, I think Eli Manning and company can put up some points in this game, although New England's defense has been playing great over the past couple weeks. But I think, like you said, it is their nemesis. Eli Manning does play well against New England, and I think Ruben Randall and Shane Vereen are going to be all involved in this game. Let's not forget, Shane Vereen, he's going up against his former team. Usually when you go up against your former team, you come out and have a little bit better game than usual.
Shane Vereen's beast.
I'm going to look like a bum. He wants to come out and say, look what you did when you left me go.
I'm going to go with Davante Adams versus Detroit. They allowed the 4th most fantasy points to wide receivers this season. Detroit's been a bad team offensively and defensively, really. But Davante Adams, he was injured most of the season, and he came back. He didn't do much his first game back, but his second game back here last week at Carolina, he came up with 7 catches on 11 targets and had 93 yards receiving as well. And I always think of Green Bay passing a ton against Detroit and just blowing them out. And I think the Green Bay Packers, coming off of 2 losses, they usually don't lose 2 games in a row ever, but they're coming off 2 losses. They're going to come back and have a bounce back week, and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a big game, and I think Davante Adams is going to repeat what he did last week.
You know, Eddie Lacy's been playing like a bum. Starks is playing all right, but he's not a great running back, so Aaron Rodgers is going to have to throw. And I agree with you, Dash, coming off 2 losses in a row. That's got a sting for Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers, he's going to put up points. Detroit's garbage.
Garbage. All right, let's move on to our sleepers then.
Sleep it up. I'm going to go with a tight end from Green Bay, Richard Rodgers. Detroit's allowed the 11th most fantasy points to tight ends this year. I've actually had Rodgers on my team at one point. I picked Rodgers, I think, as a deep sleeper maybe for a game this year. He had an all right game that week, maybe like 10 points or something.
I mentioned him a couple times in waiver claims, too.
He's been quiet the last 2 weeks, but he's had 4 double-digit fantasy performances this year in PPR leagues.
PPR?
I just think Rodgers is going to chuck it. They're going to have to do something different with their offense up in Green Bay because it's just not quite working the right way this year, I guess I want to say.
Rodgers to Rodgers this week.
It.
Please believe I like Richard Rodgers this week too. And there's some tight ends on a bye this week, and he's definitely a fill-in tight end for at least a week.
Probably do better than Heath Miller. Sorry, Heath.
How about you?
Well, this New York,
New England game, you're loving it.
New England game is
Feeling it.
gonna be exciting because New York, they're in the lead of the division right now. As sad as they looked, or whatever, as sad as Eli. And I seen a picture with. Who's that dude? JPP. It said they made a new glove for him, and it was hamburger helper mitt on his hand. I lost it. But if I'm just going to throw a quick sleeper out there, I mean, I would consider this a deep sleep, but white boy, Danny Amendola, I bet you he has, even if he catches 2 passes for 87 yards and a touchdown, that's all you need for him.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So I don't see him catching 5-6 passes and having yardage. If Amendola's going to do anything, it's going to be from 1 or 2 long plays.
Well, if the Giants' defense looks like they have over the past couple weeks, then I see no reason why he can't have 6, 7, 8 catches in this game because New York's defense.
Yeah, but you got out there. You got Gronk, LaFell.
Yeah,
I mean,
Gronk, LaFell, and Edelman.
Yeah, so he's a 4th option to get the ball. So that's.
They might use him on the wide receiver screens, though, because he's quick and shifty, and without having Dion Lewis to be able to come out of the backfield, they might do a sweep, wide receiver end around or something like that. You never know. Amendola's crafty, I guess, or shifty.
Peace, Dion.
I'm going to go with Theo Riddick from Detroit. They're going up against Green Bay this week.
I don't like him because his name's Theo.
They've allowed the 10th fewest points to running backs this season, but that's not really a big deal because Theo Riddick is the back that's used in the passing game. In their last game, they're coming off a bye, but in their previous game, he had 6 receptions at Kansas City. He has at least 30 yards receiving in every single game this season. They could be playing from behind in this game and passing a ton. That's what I'd have to believe. So I think Theo Riddick is going to be the back you want this week in Detroit. He still averages 5 carries per game over his last 3 games as well. So he's doing it a little bit in the run game as well. I just see them playing from behind, and Theo Riddick is going to be the check down target out there for Matthew Stafford.
Double A, Arn Anderson, a.k.a. Amir Abdullah, is beat, so Riddick might do something.
Look, Riddick has actually been pretty decent this season. He has a few double-digit fantasy performances, and really, he's still available in about 85% of the league, so I'm a little surprised by that. I thought he'd be owned in at least something like 50% of the leagues, because, I mean, really, he has been the best back in Detroit this year, just because they've been playing from behind and having to pass.
Detroit's garbage.
I still think Amir Abdullah is going to be a beast.
Dude's garbage.
All right, well, whatever. Let's move on to deep sleepers.
You made me pick from a tough crop here. I didn't like it. I certainly wasn't going to pick the first one. So I went with Marquise Lee just because he's going up against the Baltimore Ravens. They're absolute garbage this year. They've given up the 2nd most fantasy points to wide receivers. Lee practiced for the first time on Friday. He has a chance to play. Obviously, he's not a deep sleeper if he doesn't play. Brian Walters is a good play if Lee can't go. Robinson and Hearns are both excellent plays this week, obviously. Hearns is in a walking boot right now, but they've both been beast all year. So, Lee comes in, he plays. He's, a high draft pick, 2nd round, I think?
These boots
Yeah, this guy was supposed to be a number 1 receiver in the NFL at one point.
Yeah.
I think they call him the albino tiger.
That's a good nickname. It's better than the Duggernaut.
Yeah, but Baltimore's
the
pass
Dugganator.
defense completely sucks. Brian Walters has actually been pretty good in place of Lee since Lee has been out. But if Lee comes back, he's a little bit better than Walters out there. And I think he's going to have a good game because we've seen Bortles throws it around out there. Obviously, Allen Robinson's the guy that he's looking at most. They have a ton of targets out there, but everybody seems to be involved in that passing game. And I see Marquise Lee doing the same thing. If not, I mean, why start him over Brian Walters? Because he's playing pretty well right now as well.
Lee all the way. Baltimore's garbage.
What about you? Easy.
Well, I'll tell you what. I wasted like a 2nd round pick on Andrew Luck. I didn't even care for him. Didn't want him. But everyone, he was like right up there, fantasy quarterbacks before the season started. Now, I mean, he was garbage. He had 1 or 2 games. Now he's beat. He's garbage again. I'm throwing white boy Kirk Cousins in there. You want to know why? Because I don't even care anymore. Kirk Cousins is going to go get it against Drew Brees. I mean, if Drew Brees throws 8 touchdowns, Kirk Cousins is going to throw 3.
And he's going to throw 5 picks in the process.
It don't matter. Those 3 touchdowns, it's all I need.
Well, look, they're going up against New Orleans, like you said, and they're the worst in the league against fantasy quarterbacks. Now, he was supposed to have a better game last week as well. Actually, he was my deep sleeper last week, and he didn't turn out playing very well against the New England Patriots. He still came up with over 200 yards and had a TD. I mean, it wasn't completely terrible, but it was bad enough where you didn't want him in your lineup. But New England's actually been playing better defensively over the past couple weeks, like I was saying before. And in his last home game, he had over 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns versus Tampa Bay. And this is only an easier matchup for him. So I see him having a big week again this week, just like I did last week, though. And like I said, he didn't have it. But they've been passing a ton in Washington. 40 or more pass attempts in 5 of the past 6 weeks for Kirk Cousins. And that's why you could take running back Chris Thompson as well. Going up against New Orleans, obviously. Now, they only led up the 10th most fantasy points to running backs this season. But he is the back that has been used in the passing game this year. Although last week, again, another letdown out of a Washington Redskin offensive player. Just 2 catches for 21 yards. And he didn't even see playing time until after the half. But he had 6 or more receptions in 3 of his last 5 games played, and New Orleans is terrible against the pass. The way Drew Brees is playing, I think that the Washington Redskins are just going to have to pass a ton in this game, and Chris Thompson's going to get back playing how he was a few weeks ago. He was putting up around 20 points a game for 2 or 3 weeks there.
What if RG3 becomes a wide receiver?
You're dead wrong. I'm going to go with Chris Givens from Baltimore. He's going up against Jacksonville this week. They've allowed the 14th most fantasy points to wide receivers this season. Now, we know Steve Smith is done for the season. Kamar Aiken's going to step in as the number 1 wide receiver. Chris Givens is actually supposed to step in as the number 2 wide receiver out there. This is a guy that they brought over from St. Louis earlier this year. And look, last game, he had 3 catches for 57 yards on 4 targets versus San Diego, but they went into a bye, and I'm hearing that Givens and Joe Flacco are building all types of chemistry over these past 2 weeks here, and that Chris Givens is going to step in as the number 2 alongside Kamar Aiken out there, and I see him being useful in the passing game. They can use this guy. He's not Tavon Austin, but he can do some of the things that Austin does out there in St. Louis.
So he can suck and be overdrafted and overrated?
Well, Tavon Austin's having a beast season, if you go look, man.
A good year. I wouldn't call it beast.
Well, you look what St. Louis is doing out there, man. They don't have much outside of Todd Gurley, and Nick Foles isn't having the greatest season. Tavon Austin's doing some good things out there. I think he had 60 yards rushing last week.
Nick Foles has been garbage. Hopefully he's not one of your deep sleepers. Anything else you got for our fantasy football fans?
No. Any questions?
Yeah.
What?
Why is my team garbage?
Because you dropped Matt Forte?
Because, well, Matt Forte is trashed. You know what? When I hear Matt Forte, I think of Jay Hay. Because he ain't coming back from this injury. He ain't going to be 100% when he comes back.
You're hoping not.
Oh, I could care less.
Can you explain the birds and the bees to me?
No. Any fantasy football questions?
Oh. Well, you said any questions.
Gonna go.
Thought I was allowed to ask you
whatever I wanted. You have to go ask your dad about that.
I don't have a father. That hurts, dude.
You don't have a father. Get out of here. I met your dad.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that might have been some fake dude. That was from the Big Brother clinic.
All right.
No, I have no fantasy football questions.
No fantasy football questions. What'd you ask me before, Macklin or LaFell?
Yeah.
And I said LaFell. I said Brandon LaFell this week. I think the New York Giants defense stinks. What?
Nothing. I'm just laughing.
Did I hear you say something about D'Angelo's foot?
Oh, yeah. His foot's all swelled.
So who runs then?
Jordan Todman.
Jordan Todman. Don't mention his name in fantasy.
Well, listen, they're going up against Cleveland this week, and they're the worst at stopping the run. So if Jordan Todman's going to ever have a good week, it's going to be this week if he goes.
Todman and TP running the ball.
Hit us up on Twitter if you're putting Jordan Todman in your lineup this week.
Well, if you're in the 12
there's going to be one.
You play in 10-team leagues. Remember that, man. Most people play in 12 or 14-team leagues.
Yeah, that's true.
We do have 2 flex players, though, and
they
no
probably
kicker.
traded all their guys away anyway, so then everyone bolsters up.
I bet you nobody dropped Matt Forte.
Well,
I signed him.
Just watch and see what happens with the rest of his
If it works out,
season.
man, Peterson, Gurley, and Forte, And McCoy.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Too
Done with 'em.
much.
Sick of dudes getting hurt on my team.
It's
Done with 'em.
football, man.
Step up. Hey, what do they say?
Next man
Next
up.
Next
man
man
up.
up. That's it.
Did you pick up Jeremy Langford? He went off.
No, who'd I pick up? I didn't pick up anybody.
Dude.
Can't get
You
Langford.
picked up Pierre
Can't
Thomas.
get Langford when you're second in the league.
By the way, Pierre Thomas got cut.
Yeah, you might want to drop Thomas. He's no longer on a football team.
He was just the first name that popped up when it said available people. So
So you signed him.
That's
You
it.
should have listened to our 15-minute episode. You could have picked up the best waiver
it's that
claim.
easy. Hit the plus button.
Mm-hmm.
Wrap it.
Fans, if you want to hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread, hit me up on Twitter at betjimtowin. Any fantasy questions you got, we'll hook you up. Hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/betthespread. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Click the thumbs up. Fantasy football's a go. Playoffs are around the corner. I'm in 3rd place in my league.